Okay, so you're gonna have to bear with me here. Firstly, I had issues with my editing software here on my computer. The new Mac OS update to whatever the heck the new thing is called, Sequoia? Not too sure what it is. Apple users, you know what I'm talking about. It kind of messed up with my entire editing scheme, and I had to do a whole bunch of research into how to fix everything. So that took a few hours of my time, and I had to wait even longer because once that was finished up, the guy who does the leaf blowing outside my apartment decided to do the leaf blowing right outside my window. So, you know, I'm always grateful to those who do the brunt work to keep the exterior of my apartment clean and presentable, but of course, it's loud, so it kind of interferes with my ability to make videos. Sure, I could go ahead and talk about it, but you'd be hearing a buzzing in the background the entire time, and quite frankly, I'd have a hard time thinking and getting my thoughts together. So I wanted to wait on that. It's now 4 p.m., and everything's kind of coming out later, so I apologize for the delays of this scheduled programming, because today, what we're doing is we're giving out details on the Vancouver Canucks goaltending plan. A lot of this was just revealed to us over the past 48 hours or so, and I thought it was only necessary to talk about what the Vancouver Canucks have in store. So, before we dive into the latest with Thatcher Demko, because now we actually do have word as to the specific injury that he's got, we also had ourselves this article published by Thomas Trance and Harmondale on The Athletic from earlier 2 days ago, what Canucks Kevin Lankinen signing means and other training camp observations, which goes out there and pretty much gives us the scoop as to how Vancouver is going to maneuver the year. Look at this post made on the Canucks sub by Stick in Rink that links this article. Of course, the article is behind the paywall. The Canucks' preferred path forward is to carry 3 goaltenders throughout the year. It used to be that teams avoided carrying 3 goalies at all costs since there's only 2 nets, but with the emphasis on rest for goalies, this appears to be changing. The Red Wings, Sabres, Leafs, and Hurricanes all did it last season, and the Canucks did it in the playoffs. Now, the Canucks did do it in the playoffs, right? But Silovs, DeSmith, and then even Tolopilo was in there for a while because Demko was out for most of the playoffs. But this seems like the Vancouver Canucks path for 2024-2025. They want to have 3 dudes rotating around, not 2, because they don't want a situation where Thatcher Demko'S forced to play 65 games and he hurts himself again, because that happens when a guy is really active. Also, you have to consider the names that will be tossed around here. If you go Demko, Silovs, Lankinen, honestly, I feel like it's not that unfair to put Lankinen above Silovs in the pecking order. Like, maybe Silovs plays only 20-ish games this season. If Demko comes back healthy, him and Lankinen will split the remaining 62. And when you think about it like that, okay, 31, 31, and 20, that's a pretty even distribution for 3 guys that should have the capabilities of allowing their team in front of them to win. Lankinen, as we had said, has been a good backup in Nashville. Arturs Silovs had that great stint in the playoffs against Nashville. And then Thatcher Demko is a Vezina reigning finalist, just forced to come back from an injury that we will talk about as the video goes on. We also had ourselves some other word from Elliotte Friedman. He had some appearances on radio shows and on 32 Thoughts. This is what he had said on 32 Thoughts earlier this morning, that Arturs Silovs' agents have made it known to the Canucks that Silovs wants to play in the NHL this season. Now, that's not surprising. Oh yeah, look at that, my guy wants to be in the NHL, he doesn't want to go back to Abbotsford. That's something that he has all the right into asking because he did have the Canucks winning against Nashville in round 1. He was a very big part of that. So, Silovs sticking in Vancouver, not a surprise. Friedman also had himself an interview on Donnie and Dolly earlier this afternoon, where he kind of repeated some of the same stuff that he had said in 32 Thoughts, but Canucks News Summaries goes out there with the Canucks News Summaries and transcribes everything as to what Friedman said. Firstly, on the Rogers sale, the NHL is going to want to get a big media deal. Honestly, I'm not really too in the know about the Rogers stuff. I got to do more research on that. And secondly, on Canucks goalies, this is what Friedman says. Firstly, Demko knows not to rush everything back. It's easier to say he won't rush back now, but it's hard as the season rolls on. Yeah, that makes sense. Demko's a gamer after all. He pushed himself to return before the end of the regular season anyway, and that kind of gave him a higher chance of being hurt, maybe. Arturs Silovs made it pretty clear in the offseason that he does not want to go to the minors, and then, including playoffs, Arturs Silovs has played 19 games, so it's another 41 games before he needs waivers. So all signs point to Arturs Silovs being an NHL guy this upcoming season. Who knows how many games he plays. If he plays 20 to 25, I think I'm very satisfied with that. Anything more and I start to get worried about how the other goaltenders in Vancouver are performing, or if they're healthy. Anything less, and I think Silovs is getting snubbed a little bit. Okay, maybe if it's 19, it's not that bad. But still, you want this guy to play games, you want him to develop, and he'll have chances to do that in this upcoming year. Now, on to the big thing that was talked about earlier this morning on Halford and Bruff on Sportsnet 650. You had Kevin Woodley out on the show with the scoop, because now we know what Thatcher Demko'S injury is. I'll leave a link in the description to the video clip if you want to listen to it yourself, but Kevin Woodley says this: I can clear up one thing here. There's no longer uncertainty about Thatcher Demko'S injury actually is. Get your WebMD out and look up Popliteus. Popliteus? Poplitis? Not too sure. Kevin Woodley says it in the video clip. But let's go over onto an article by Canucks Army, because what David Cordrelli did was he transcribed the comments made by Woodley. There's a lot of uncertainty around this and around this injury, and as much as Demko believes he can get back to 100% and seems to be in a really good place the past couple of weeks after, as he had said, a month off, there seems to be a lot of uncertainty about the injury. The one thing I can clear up, one thing in terms of uncertainty, there's no longer uncertainty about what it is, so you guys can get your WebMD out and look up Poplitis. It is a thin, triangle-shaped muscle behind the back of the knee, and that, evidently, is where the injury has occurred. Whether it's a tear, to what degree, we don't know. But this is basically a muscle deep behind under several layers of other muscles deep on the back of your knee. It doesn't do much. It sort of attaches to the top inside the femur, and then back to the tibia on top of the other side. For runners, this is the muscle that unlocks the knee joint from straight. It's actually a pretty negligible effect on deflection for the knee, but it pulls the lateral meniscus back and out of the way of flexion. It is a small but somewhat significant ligament, and I'm not sure the degree of the damage or whether he's pulled it off the bone at the ligament or what, but it is super rare. I've talked to a couple of people that have been doing this at the NHL level for 30 years. They've never seen it. So everything they're telling us tracks. And despite it being small and somewhat insignificant, there's obviously uncertainty that comes when there's no sort of prescribed way to either improve it. Literally, when you first look it up, one of the first things you'll see is the sort of healing time is anywhere from 3 to 16 weeks. So nothing like nailing it down, right? And if you Google Poplitis and you look at the Google image search, this is kind of what it shows off here. It seems to be that kind of muscle that wraps around on the joint. It's kind of interesting. I personally had no idea that this muscle existed, and I think a lot of Canucks fans probably didn't either, until they recognize, hey, this is the thing that Thatcher Demko has. So that's going to be some interesting Jeopardy trivia in Canucks lore in 20 years or so. But for now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about all these Canucks updates? They're going to go with 3 goaltenders. Arturs Silovs is going to be in the NHL, according to what his agents want. I mean, who knows if the Canucks are going to follow it, but they kind of have no choice, right? They want to roll with 3 guys, Lankinen, Demko, Silovs. They have no choice. Now it's going to be Parekh, Silovs, and Lankinen, but I digress. My thoughts, I like the 3 goalie setup. It kind of worked well for some of the other teams we had seen. Look, I'm a Red Wings fan as well, right? And seeing that team roll with Lyon, Husso, and James Reimer for a good chunk of last season, it kind of familiarized me with the 3 goalie setup, not just the 1-1 switching around for 2 guys. It does get a little bit kind of like a cycle, but the thing is, if you want to build stability, that's kind of what you got to do, right? Cycle it around. If a guy gets hot, then that's okay. You can let him get hot. If you have must-win games, then okay, maybe Thatcher Demko comes back as long as he is ready to go. But at the end of the day, giving the Canucks more options is not a bad thing, especially since Kevin Lankinen signed on for a sub-$1 million deal. This is so good for Vancouver because the guy wanted something in the $1+ million range. Now, they don't need to go into the LTIR with the Tucker Pullman contract. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this Canucks setup, how they're going to go with 3 goaltenders, how Silovs is going to stay up, and how we now know that Thatcher Demko'S injury was Poplitis. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this British Arturs 99, and bye.